Elena had always believed marriage was supposed to be a quiet kind of safety, a place where affection lived in gestures so small you barely noticed them. A touch on the shoulder while passing in the kitchen, a glance that said, "I see you." But lately, her own home felt like a museum of what used to be. The walls were warm, the rooms full, yet something inside her had gone still. David, her husband of 8 years, wasn't cruel. He didn't shout or disappear for days. But he was gone in quieter ways. Lost in his phone, his work, his endless stream of responsibilities. He existed beside her, not with her. Dinner became a ritual of silence, broken only by the tapping of screens and the clink of utensils. Even their bed, once a space of laughter and whispers, had become a neutral zone. It wasn't passion she missed most, but presence. The feeling of being wanted, not for convenience, but for connection. She still made small efforts, brushing her hair differently, wearing the perfume he used to love, even lighting candles on the table. But David hardly noticed. His affection had turned into routine politeness. One Thursday afternoon, after a day that felt like all the others, Elena decided she needed to do something for herself. A friend had told her about a new massage studio across town. "They're amazing," her friend had said. "You'll walk out feeling like you've been given your body back." That last phrase lingered, "given your body back." It sounded like what she needed. The studio was tucked inside a narrow townhouse, quiet from the outside, but warm and fragrant within. The soft hum of music filled the air, low piano notes woven through the scent of lavender and sandalwood. The receptionist smiled, handed her a clipboard, and asked her to wait. Elena felt her shoulders loosen even before anything began. Then, a voice called her name. "Mrs. Collins?" She looked up. The man standing before her was tall, composed, and calm, the kind of calm that carries confidence. "I'm Marcus," he said. "I'll be your therapist today." His tone was professional, but something in his gaze held steady, deliberate warmth. Elena followed him down a hallway lined with closed doors and soft yellow lights. Inside the room, a single lamp glowed beside a table covered in crisp white sheets. Bottles of oil stood neatly in rows on the counter, labeled with names like Serenity and Focus. Marcus gestured politely. "You can leave your things here. I'll step out while you get comfortable. Lie face down under the towel, and I'll be right back." When the door clicked shut, Elena exhaled slowly, her fingers fumbling with the buttons of her blouse. It wasn't nerves, she told herself, just fatigue, just self-care. She lay down, the sheet cool against her skin, her heartbeat syncing with the soft music. When Marcus returned, his hands were warm and sure. The first press of his palms into her shoulders made her sigh without meaning to. "It's okay," he said quietly. "Just breathe." And for the first time in months, she did. At first, the rhythm of his hands was mechanical, a steady press, release, glide. But soon, something in the motion shifted. It wasn't just about easing muscle tension anymore. It was about tracing forgotten maps of sensation. The oil warmed beneath his palms, seeping into her skin, into her thoughts. Marcus spoke occasionally, his voice calm and even. "Pressure still okay?" "Yes," she breathed, though she barely recognized her own voice. It trembled slightly, softer than she meant it to be. Her mind fought to keep this moment ordinary. "It's just a massage. He's a professional. You're imagining the rest." Yet her body didn't listen. Each time his hands moved lower down her spine, a wave of heat rose to meet them. She felt herself tightening, not in pain, but in anticipation. He paused to pour more oil into his hands, the sound soft but deliberate, the scent deepening around them. Elena's heartbeat followed his rhythm. The glide, the pause, the slow return. She focused on the music, but the melody had become background to something heavier, quieter, the sound of breathing, steady, close, human. When his fingers brushed the sides of her ribcage, just beneath the towel, she froze. It wasn't inappropriate. Not yet. But it lingered long enough to carry meaning. His touch wasn't clinical anymore. It was aware. And she didn't stop him. Her eyes flicked open toward the small mirror angled on the wall. For a moment, she saw him reflected there, focused, collected, his expression unreadable. But then, as if he could sense her watching, he met her gaze in the glass. The look lasted no more than a second, but it held an unspoken question. "Do you want me to stop?" She didn't answer. She couldn't. Her pulse quickened, and she felt the towel slip slightly down her back. A tremor ran through her body, and Marcus hesitated only for a moment before continuing. His touch became slower, deliberate, tracing invisible lines that drew her closer to a place she hadn't dared to feel in years. Elena's thoughts tangled between guilt and awakening. She saw flashes of David, distracted, distant, half-present, and wondered when exactly their silence had become permission. The contrast was unbearable. Here, in this quiet, dim room, someone was paying attention to her. Every breath, every flinch, every pause. "Relax," Marcus murmured again, his tone softer now, lower, almost personal. She tried. She let her body melt into the table, surrendering to gravity, to warmth, to the illusion of being seen. For a moment, the world shrank to the sound of their breaths and the faint hum of music. The boundaries that had defined her, wife, professional, loyal, blurred like oil beneath fingertips. When Marcus's hand paused at the curve of her lower back, he didn't move immediately. The air between them changed, heavy, waiting. Elena's eyes closed, her pulse thrumming in her throat. She knew the line was there. She also knew she was the one letting him cross it. When Marcus finally stepped back, the room seemed too quiet. The music still played, the scent of sandalwood still lingered, but something had changed between them. Something irreversible. Elena stayed face down for a moment, gripping the sheet as though it could hold her together. Her heart was racing, her breath shallow. She felt both exposed and untouchable, trembling not from cold, but from what she'd allowed. "Take your time," Marcus said softly, his voice once again calm, professional, as if the silence between them hadn't just filled with meaning. He wiped his hands, turned off the lamp, and left her alone. Elena sat up slowly, the towel gathered tightly around her. In the mirror across the room, she saw her reflection, flushed, disheveled, uncertain. It wasn't shame exactly that she felt. It was something quieter, more complex. A realization that she hadn't just been touched. She had been seen, and that was what terrified her most. When she dressed, her fingers trembled. She smoothed her blouse twice before opening the door. Marcus was waiting by the hallway, his posture straight, his face unreadable. Their eyes met briefly. A flicker of acknowledgement, nothing more. "Thank you," she murmured, her voice faint. He nodded once. "Take care, Mrs. Collins." The receptionist smiled brightly as Elena passed. "We hope to see you again soon." Elena forced a smile, muttered something polite, and stepped into the cool evening air. The city outside felt louder than usual. Cars, voices, footsteps, all too real after the suspended quiet of that room. She walked to her car quickly, her heels clicking against the pavement, her mind caught in a loop of conflicting thoughts. She could still feel the echo of his hands on her skin, the warmth, the danger, the way she hadn't said no. By the time she sat behind the wheel, her breath came fast and uneven. She gripped the steering wheel, staring at her own reflection in the rearview mirror. Her lipstick was smudged. Her eyes looked different. Not guilty, not proud, but alive in a way they hadn't been in years. David would be home by now, probably scrolling through work emails with the television humming beside him. The thought should have comforted her. Instead, it made her feel like a stranger in her own life. What have I done? She thought. But beneath that, quieter still. Would I do it again? The red light on her dashboard flickered like a pulse. She turned the key, the engine roared softly, and she drove home through streets blurred by the glow of streetlights and a storm building somewhere in the distance. That night, she sat across from David at dinner. He talked about a new project. She nodded at the right moments. He didn't notice her silence. But inside her, something irreversible had begun. Not an affair, not yet, but a shift, a secret, a hunger she couldn't unlearn. And when she lay beside him in bed later, staring at the ceiling, her skin still remembered. Would you forgive her? Or was this the moment her marriage truly ended? If this were your story, would you confess? Or keep the secret that made you feel alive again? Tell me in the comments below.